G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. It's Sunday, long weekend, NRL final, and I've just decided to go for a bit of a walk, get out of the house, come for a bit of a bushwalk, maybe a 2 or a 3 hour bushwalk, and use that time as productively as I can to pump out a few Jim's 5am Clubs, as well as just getting some stress relief. What I'd like to do today is take you through a book summary, and the book summary that I've got prepared to chat to you about today is entitled Soundtracks. Soundtracks, a really interesting book with a lot of great messages. And it's one of those books that talks about the importance of controlling your mind and finding peace and productivity through what you feed your mind. The book is written by an author named Jon Acuff, and we'll just kick off and see where it leads us. The author here makes a statement to get us thinking in a particular way at the beginning of the book, where he states that the antidote of overthinking is taking action and to retire old soundtracks and replace them with new ones that we're able to repeat over and over again. You know that sometimes we listen to something and it becomes an earwig, and it just keeps on playing over and over and over in our heads. It's a tune, a message, a slogan, an advertisement. You know, who knows what it is? But some things are really, really catchy. And what the author is saying is that we've got these little earwigs playing in our heads over and over again. But the important thing that we need to realise and we need to consider is whether or not these soundtracks that we've got playing over and over are soundtracks that are productive and are going to help us grow, develop and become the person that we want to become and achieve the goals that we want to achieve, or are they designed to distract us, to bring us down, to make us depressed, to make us anxious, and to cause havoc in our lives, which in turn translates to making havoc in other people's lives around us. So the author asks us the question, do you know what you think of most of the time? Are there some sort of routine questions? Are there some sort of routine issues or challenges that you face over and over again? And the author says that these are the things that we need to examine, and the purpose of this book is to help us leverage and maximise and make the most of those soundtracks. So let's get through to the first formal point. I'll address 3 points that the author came up with. There's a lot more in the book that you could probably benefit by reading yourself, but I'll just focus on 3 items for today, just to make sure that we don't talk for too long and get all the key points confused. So we'll focus on the top 3, or the top 3 that we think may add the most value. But there could be some other points there that are more important, depending on where each person is on their growth and development curve, will determine how and what is important to them. So the author in his first point says that we need to ask ourselves if our thoughts are true, kind or helpful. So we need to apply a filter to our thoughts, and it's really, really powerful. It's a real powerful and profound statement that he makes, Because a lot of people that we've learnt over the years through observation, a lot of things that we've learnt is that many people have irrational fears. Oh, here's the ducks that we saw the other day. A lot of people have irrational fears that they keep playing over and over in their heads. But if they sat down and asked themselves a simple question, is it true? Is it kind? Or is it helpful? They'd soon realise that those things that worry them aren't all that productive and useful, and they'd look at retiring them very, very quickly rather than holding on to them. So the author calls us to action and says that what we should seriously consider doing, is throwing out the soundtracks that are hurting us. Because words hurt, especially the ones we say to ourselves. The sounds, the feelings that we create through our own self-talk are quite damaging if left unmanaged, according to the author. And the other thing the author says here, and I agree with this, I agree wholeheartedly with this, is that most people underemphasize the positives that are happening in their lives. And what we need to, I guess, step up to and understand is that we don't need to be shy about the good things that are happening in our lives. Yes, it's important to be humble, but we shouldn't be shy to at least give praise and to acknowledge the good things that are happening in our lives, in our work, in our families, as well as the good things that others around us are doing in their contribution as well. So we need to have thought patterns that empower us, make us stronger, make us better, make us more energized, make us look forward to the future, make us take action, as opposed to the ones that make us procrastinate, make us hate, and make us take on the world. I guess a lot of us have seen over the past few months, there's been this whole anti-vax / freedom sort of protests by a few mugs in our society who all they're doing is just creating havoc and slowing down the freedom and the opening of the economy by them voicing their selfish, irrational and misrepresentational sort of views. So the key thing is to promote things that build us up, promote things that give us something to push for, something to want to achieve, as opposed to the things that want to keep us in our shell and locked up and buried under our fears, uncertainties and doubts. The second point that the author puts forward in this wonderful book called Soundtracks is that we need to borrow soundtracks from people who inspire us and invert our old thoughts to better thinking patterns. As Steve Covey and Jim Rohn and Anthony Robbins and all the key motivational speakers say, you end up being the average of the half dozen people that you hang out with. Because what happens is that you take on their thought processes, you take on their way of seeing the world, and their way of seeing the world could be right or it could be wrong. But most importantly, what it needs to be, and it needs to empower you so that you're able to push forward with your goals that are aligned with your values and your action plans and your dreams. So what else can we learn? What else can we take from this wonderful, wonderful book? So what we need to do is we need to unearth, we need to dig out, we need to de-weed our negative thinking. Anything that is an I must or an absolute needs to be evaluated, because it could be adding value to you, but it could be significantly taking value away from you. So we need to sometimes look at things and actually replace them with an opposite, especially if that opposite means a change in action, a change in the way you see the world, and something that makes you bigger, better, and more powerful in terms of who you are. So the author puts it into perspective and says that people need to have a look at setting up a new and a better playlist. A new and better playlist. And as we said before, you can borrow your playlist from other people. You don't have to live your own playlist, but you can borrow a better playlist, something that takes you on a different journey and helps you grow and develop. So there are possibilities, many possibilities available to each and every one of us to create and modify the playlists, the soundtracks that we have playing constantly in our lives, because we must never forget that it's our responsibility and our accountability to feel great, to feel helpful, kind and true. We're going to be true to ourselves. So we need to align the playlists and the soundtracks to that trueness. And one of the other powerful lessons that this author puts forward is that we shouldn't try and achieve perfection. Too many people that I've met throughout my life who underachieve are actually people who are highly perfectionists, and they won't do something, they won't try something for fear of failure. They won't try something for fear of ridicule, for fear of being compared to somebody else. But it's only through those failures, as we learn, that we can grow and develop. We can use those failures as stepping stones to future successes and future growths. So what the author here is saying is that if you've got problems, if you've got a challenge along the way, try pivoting rather than panicking. Try taking a different path. Try another way of thinking. Try to reframe something by asking a different question, asking a better quality question, as opposed to what's wrong with me, to say, what can I gain from this? How can I leverage this? How can I use this to be bigger, better and stronger and more successful? So as my mate Johnny D always says, we need to keep on moving. We need to maintain momentum to get over those humps in our lives, because the bend is not always at the end. Could be just a bend in the road. So looking forward, it looks like the track ends here, but as I get closer, I see that it opens up and it continues on for kilometres and kilometres and kilometres. So just keep on going, keep on moving, and solutions and opportunities will continue to open up along the way. So the last formal point to come out of this book from this author is we need to embed our new soundtracks into an item to make them permanent. I learnt years ago from a number of seminars, a number of books that I've read, is that if you want to institute change in your life, if you want to do something different, what you need to do is you need to swap out unproductive habits and replace them with productive habits. You can't just stop doing something and not do anything else. You need to replace it with something in order to for it to be effective and for it to last the distance, so to speak. The author also mentions here, and I don't fully understand what he's saying, but you need to have symbols to associate your positive soundtracks to. Whenever you're trapped or overthinking, we need to be able to revert to association through certain symbols that we have, just to, I guess, distract us and to refocus us on what we need to do. And the key is to manage as effectively as possible our thoughts and to free ourselves of the negativity that gets us down and puts us into a negative reloop, a downward spiral. Here we go. So I'm just crossing over the creek now, going over to the other side and head back and continue my walk. But it's just lovely walking by the creek here and having some relatively clean running water. I wouldn't be drinking from this water, but at least it fills the senses in a way that only nature can do it. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. We just went through a book summary entitled Soundtracks by Jon Acuff. And I welcome you to join me on other 5am clubs whenever you get the chance. I post it to YouTube, to Facebook, to Instagram, and to LinkedIn. And I also post a few to TikTok, but I haven't mastered how TikTok works to get the right leverage. But I look forward for us joining each other, becoming partners in each other's growth and development. I love doing vlogs, I love learning, and I love passing it on. So I encourage anybody who has a thirst for vlogging to make contact with me. I can give you a few tips in terms of the technology and how I use my technology to do what I do. And I'm sure you could do a much better job than what I do. But at this point in time, I've got well over 1,100 vlogs. I've also got 69 in Greek as well. So many minutes, thousands and millions of words of information that we've shared with our friends and family. Take care, everybody, and we'll chat again. Yassas, and bye for now. Happy Sunday, and go the Penrith Panthers.